Happy Thursday, everybody. It's 11 o'clock Pacific time, right on the nose here. We'll get started in just a minute. I think we still have a few people filtering in. So let's give another 30 seconds or so and then we'll get going. Okay. Well, hi, I'm Chris, and welcome to the Liscio Tax Season Primer. Thank you for joining us. Today I'm joined by Tim and Lindsay. They'll be taking questions from you as we go. And we have an hour reserved for this. What I'd like to do is I'll be reviewing the agenda and so forth with you momentarily. But as you have questions throughout the programming today, please go ahead and send them in. What we'll be doing is Tim and Lindsay will be responding to them as they come in, and we're going to cover the most common or some of the most beneficial questions for the group toward the end here. So plenty of room today at the Q&A section, okay? So I can't believe it's December already, but obviously a great time for us to get going and start to prepare for tax season. So let me go ahead and walk you through just a couple of things we'll be talking about today. And many of you are already familiar with these, so I'll be spending more time on the newer things and less time on things that many of you may have used before in prior tax seasons with us. But I wanted to cover engagement letters just one more time. We have the new eDocs feature. I think that many of you know we've been working on electronic signatures. I'm going to show that to you today, and we're going to go into more detail than I've gone into before. And so we're specifically going to go through questionnaires, ACH authorization forms, and so forth. I'll also be touching on 8879s, and we're going to take a detailed look at our solution for that for this tax season as well. For those of you who haven't used Liscio before, I'll be covering the document request process very briefly. I'm going to touch on the print driver again today, and then we'll talk about balancing the load between firm members, particularly keeping the desk a little bit cleaner for example, many of the partners in the office, because oftentimes they get the majority share of incoming messages from clients. I'll be touching on file archival, and then we have a bunch of new features coming in Q1. I'm going to give you a preview in terms of a couple of those, okay? So let's get going. Engagement letters. So our engagement letters feature is the same as it was last year. That worked out well for many of you, and I know many of you have been using it throughout the year for new clients that you've been onboarding for client accounting services and so forth. So the key here is if you aren't familiar with it and you want to know more, we're going to give you all of our contact information at the end of this as well, but let us know. We're here to help you. We're here to walk you through it. But if you have been using us before, what we want to make sure that you do is to make sure that if you have a new engagement letter, please send that to us so we get that in the system for you. We'll format it for a great browser experience. We'll make sure it also looks great on the mobile device. If you're going to send it out and you need more tips in terms of how to use our bulk send feature, we'll walk you through that. And then we have the entity type field in Liscio. Use that when sending everything in bulk to single out or to zero in on your 1040 clients. So that's all ready to go. So the checklist reminder that we want to put out in front of you today is, do you have your latest forms in Liscio? And I know many of you, if you're using the same form as last year, we put wildcards in there that will automatically update the year for you. So instead of saying the 2018 tax season, it'll now say the 2019 tax year. But we'll want to go ahead and check all that and test it before you send. And then make sure your entity types are set up appropriately so you can quickly filter through the list and send everything out in bulk. So let us know if you have questions there. Next up, we want to walk you through, and what I'd like to do is walk you through today, sending questionnaires, ACH forms, and the like. So this feature will be live next Friday, so 1 week from tomorrow. So really the idea here is to use any form that you'd like, and then make it easy for your clients to fill this in. So this is what I showed you when we met last time, I think back in September. This was a simple questionnaire example that has a yes, no checkbox. I prepared a template today that I'd like to walk you through. We think is going to be a little bit better of an experience for you and for your clients. And let me show you that. So I'm going to dive into product here. And what you're going to see here is this is us as a firm. And I'm going to show you, first of all, how this gets sent out and what the client sees. And then I'm going to show you how to modify a document and to modify a template so you have a good idea of what to expect. And that'll give you a good starting place for thinking through how you might want to set up and arrange your questionnaires and other forms that you might want to send out in the future using the new eDocs feature. So here it goes. Let's start with the end-to-end firm to client experience. I'm going to add new, and you have a new box here called eDoc. When I do that, I'm going to send this to Jane. So looks and feels a lot like what we already do. This is going to be a tax questionnaire. Please complete. And you notice we have KBA and so forth. I'm going to show you KBAs in a little bit, but for now, just know that you can have multiple signatories. There can be a signing order. You can have KBAs attached. Just to kind of slake your thirst there. I'll show you what that might look like. Signing order is on. You'll see that both people would have to do the KBA. We give you granular control over that. If you want to change the signing order, it's drag and drop easy, okay? But for now, let's go ahead and just do a simple case, no KBA, just sending a questionnaire to Jane. What you want to do at this point is you can attach it from the Lisio Vault, you can attach it from a template library, or you can attach it from your computer. I already set up a questionnaire because questionnaires can be used over and over, so I'm going to select templates here. When I do that, it pulls up our templates list. I created a 2019 income tax questionnaire for us to go ahead and use. Select it, it puts the questionnaire right here. And then we're going to hit prepare document for signing. What we're doing now is we're actually pulling up Adobe Sign. So Adobe Sign is embedded inside of Lisio. So the authoring tools are over here. As you can see, this document, I've already put drop-down fields, and I've put text fields here. So for example, it says, did your marital status change during the year? I give them a drop-down. The drop-down has the contents that I want them to select from, and then I give them a text field that can be used as necessary. And there's a lot more different kinds of fields you can use here. It's all the great Adobe Sign functionality baked in. So use it as appropriate. Just to give you a sense for the data field choices, give me text input, drop downs, check boxes, radio buttons, images, lots of things you can do here. But let's just keep it simple. I'm gonna go ahead and send this form out. So when I hit send here, it's gonna go ahead and shoot it out. And it comes back to us, and there it goes, okay? So our client, Jane, is going to get the notification, and it's going to say, please sign tax questionnaire less than a minute ago. That's the one we just sent. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And this is what the client is going to see. So she'll see our notes. We're going to clean some of this stuff up before you get it. But I'm going to go ahead here and click here to review and sign tax questionnaire. When I do that, it pulls up her experience. And this is nice because what you're going to see here is it should be a really clean deal for her. She can start, anything that has a star is required. So select yes or no. I put the yeses in capitals because from my perspective, and I use a larger font, when we get this back as a firm, we want anything that's outstanding, like a yes means an exception in our case, right? Marital status changed, or did your address change? Yes, right? Just put some emphasis on that. If it's a no, make it a little bit smaller. Maybe use lowercase. If did your marital, I am happy to report that we got married last April. Okay. You'll also notice what I did here is, since these are exceptions, I decided to build a template that put client responses in red, and I'll show you how we can modify those. Okay, something like this: address change. Yes, we bought new house. The address is up here. Okay, and so forth. So what I like about this, instead of using a checkbox, is if you use drop downs and you make them required, you're always going to get an answer, and you're only going to get one answer, yes or no. If you leave two checkboxes, they might check both or might not check either, right? So we think that the designing this for a great mobile experience and a great web experience might require some modification on your side. So I just want to throw some ideas out there just to get the juices flowing. If you have questions about this and so forth, let us know, okay? But your client will go ahead and just go straight down the list. When they're done, they'll click to sign it, and it'll come back to you where you can review it, okay? So that part of the experience should be very familiar to your client. I would imagine just about everybody's been through a DocuSign experience or something similar in their professional or personal lives already. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you kind of how this works, nuts and bolts on the firm side. So you're going to get a section here. It's a new section at the bottom called eDoc. If I click on eDoc, what you're going to see is you have a template library. Before I get there, you're also going to see everything in progress, all the eDocs that are outstanding, everything's been completed, everything canceled, and everything in draft. Okay, so we're going to have you a little bit belt and suspenders here, because in your task list, you're also going to be able to see everything open, everything pending review, and everything archived. So that one we just sent to Jane 3 minutes ago, that's sitting in the task list, okay? It's also sitting in the in progress list here. So you're never going to miss, and you're always going to know exactly what is outstanding and who has it. If I were to click on this, it's going to show us the history, who requested, who the signers are, and there could be multiple signers, and the description and so forth. And if I wanted to, I could click on the task here and jump me to the task. So we think this will keep things very organized for you. The next thing that I want to show you, though, is the template library, okay? So the template library is here. You're going to see I created for demo use only a 2019 income tax questionnaire. I can edit it, I can trash it. If I edit it, what will happen here is we're going to bring you into the template. And what I did here is I just took a basic Word document, okay? And I brought it in, I left some space and so forth. And then I added drop-down fields. The way I did that is add a data field, just go ahead, bring a drop-down over, okay? And then if you double click on it or right click on it, it'll open it up. And you can put your options in here. I can put in yes, I can put in no, I can put in maybe, I can put in maybe so, okay? I can make the default value any of those. So all you have to do is separate these things with the carriage return, and there's your bit. You can select the default value and so forth. I can change the appearance. So in this case, in my mind, when you're reviewing these things, you want this to be a little more prominent. So I made the font size 14, made it a little bit larger. If you want to change the color, just click on the color here and go ahead and pick whatever color you want. It'll just show up there, okay? So you can drag that around or drag these bars up and down. It'll change the colors. So there's how we might get a nice green, okay? So use those. You can drag and drop these things and so forth, really easy to use. If you ever right click, you can copy fields. So I want to use this one over and over. I'll just copy it, drag it, copy it. Here's a new one, drag it and place it, okay? So I don't really want to do that. I'm gonna see if I can back out of that without saving. But that's how you're gonna upload and modify your own templates, okay? And then when you're ready, just go ahead and you can send a couple tests out to make sure everything's working well, and then you're ready to send them to clients. So that's gonna be a good experience, we think, for this tax season. There's more here. So really it's upload the questionnaires, it's add everything, it's save them, and it's gonna be send them in bulk. Now, the bulk feature you're gonna notice isn't in yet. We're gonna have it in toward the end of this month. And I wanna show you what that's gonna be. So our designs are essentially in, and let me give you a sense for how that'll work. So if I come out here, and this is our design files, you're gonna see, as you have today, you have the bulk actions area. You'll be able to come over here, you'll be able to go to send eDocs, okay? Our filters are gonna work similarly. I'm hopeful we'll be able to improve our filters as we go through Q1 here, but you'll be able to pick individuals or what have you. When you do that, It's going to generate our list of everybody who meets those criteria. And what I want you to notice here is this. Next to everybody's name is the last document we sent them. Okay, last sent date and the last document we sent them. So this is going to keep you, we hope, from duplicate sending eDocs to the same people, right? We want to prevent that. So you'll be able to do that, select everybody you want, hit next step. When you do that, let's see, that's everybody's highlighted. We're going to allow you to attach your template. And then when your template's attached, hit prepare eDoc. It's going to show you what you might send them. And you can still remove people. It's your final check to make sure that the people you want and only the people you want are going to get the docs. Then hit send. And that'll mass or bulk send your eDocs. Okay? So there's a caveat I want to walk you through as well, which is, I probably have it. Oh yeah, there it is. A document that's sent in bulk is limited to a single signer. Okay, because imagine this, there's no easy way for us to say, hey, this is going to go to Jane and to John Doe together. How would we do that? By putting, it's too difficult for us right now to get the software to say, hey, this one document's going to go to only to one person, this other doc's going to have multiple signers, right? So the limitation is a document sent in bulk is limited to a single signer. So, questionnaire checklist. Is the form easy to fill out online, right? And many of you have talked to us about organizers. Some of you have more clients than others who are successful with organizers. If you want to send those out, talk to us. We've been gathering a lot of feedback from many of you in terms of best practices. We've heard a lot of you want to send an organizer, but don't want clients to fill them out because clients oftentimes fill them out incorrectly. You just want them to use it as a reference point. In that case, we'll recommend ways for you to attach that to the documents you send out to them. Okay, so that's sending questionnaires. Let me move on. Let's go ahead and talk about 8879s. Okay, so many of you who used Listio last year liked the print, sign, and photograph option. I think that was vastly successful or largely successful for the super majority of our clients. But we know many of you also have clients who are digital purists, right? They want to do everything on the phone or everything electronically, and printing something out is maybe a little bit anachronistic. We get it. So what we're doing now is obviously allowing you to send either way that's best for you and best for your client. So the print, sign, and photograph option is still 100% in play. What we've done is, using the Adobe Sign embedded technology, you now have that, and this will be released next Friday as well. You now have that in product. So I showed you earlier how you create the eDoc, how you click on KBA. Everything else is the same. You're going to send the template and so forth just like you did before. The difference is when you send it, the difference is on the client experience side. I'm going to go ahead and show you that. If I go out here and go back out of this document here, I'm going to go to Jane. If Jane comes out and goes to her task list, what she's going to see is maybe probably knocked it out, didn't I? That's okay. I'll send another one then. So let me go ahead and go to Jane. Okay, I'll go to my template. And many of you are going to use our print driver to get the document in here instead of using a template, but this is good for illustrative purposes. Okay. This is going to be a Form 8879 with fillable fields ready to go. If I wanted to drag a signature field over, I could do that. Put it in the right place. Then go ahead and send that. Now, in this case, the big difference is I clicked on 8879, or KBA, pardon me. When I come out here, she gets the task. She clicks on that. When she opens this up, what will happen is this is going to launch the LexisNexis secondary ID authentication protocol, okay? So we're not gonna rely on an email address and so forth. This is gonna launch the out-of-wallet questions. So if I were to type in all of my information here, and I'm gonna go ahead and pause my screen just so I can type in some personal details. This won't take me long. Okay, when I'm done, I'm gonna get questions. And we're doing this to conform to the IRS regulations with regard to out-of-wallet identity verification. And what you're gonna see is it's gonna answer me a bunch of multiple choice questions. In this case, I have 6 bits, which of the following corporations have ever been associated with. I have to answer these correctly. If I get any of the first 4 wrong, it'll ask me 2 more questions, okay? So it's a pretty good experience. It's LexisNexis, so it's the industry standard, and it's all baked in. So I'm gonna go ahead and back out of this, but that's what the client experience will look like. And this will work well, not only on the computer, but also on the mobile phone, okay? So let me back out of that. All right, and since everything, and you've noticed this already, since everything's flowing using our existing task tracking, if you ever wanted to go through, for example, and say, hey, did we ever get Jane's 8879 back? Anybody in the firm can come out here and see whether or not that task is open, in review, or has been completed, okay? So everything's task managed. Also, when these forms are completed, they're gonna move into the file section automatically for you and for the client. So anything that gets signed, for example, I have a letter here that was signed, it's gonna go right in, it's an eDoc, you'll see that here, it's automatically tagged in eDoc. It'll go right in there and the document will be there, all in the file section. So it's gonna keep you and your clients from hopping between platform and platform, trying to figure out, did we ever get it? Is the document over there? Let's download the document from one system, put it in another system, and so forth, okay? So all that's baked in and is just about ready for you to get your hands on it, okay? All right, moving right along. That's it for the eDocs and process. So it's going to help you gather a lot of information. If there's more information to gather, for example, you need to get a Form K1 that's outstanding. You know, a lot of those things that lag. What you can do is, to the extent that those are coming in, or to the extent that, you know, questionnaire or an organizer comes back and you don't have supporting documentation, or you think there might be something missing because we had it in the prior year, but maybe we don't have it this year, we would recommend that you create a task in Lisio and give the client a due date, and that'll keep it top of mind, and they'll know exactly what's outstanding that you're waiting for. As you know, or as many of you know, the Lisio mobile app will also send them a notification the Monday of the week that the item is due. And if you need to get something really fast, and this is the big deal, right? This was the big hit from last year. If you know that a majority of the work and majority of your clients can be really, really late, and you want to smooth out the workload, and you think there's things that are probably in their control you can get sooner, for example, 1099 INTs, maybe some stuff that's pretty easy to get that'll allow you to complete or get started on returns sooner. Use the text message reminder feature. That's a big one, right? So create a message, say send text message, and off you go. If you, quick reminder here, if you have a lot of clients whose mobile phone numbers you don't have in Lisio yet, but you have those mobile phone numbers on hand, let us know. We want to help you get those mobile phone numbers in the system so text messages are going to work and help you out when you need that just quicker response time. All right, let me move on and let's talk about the print driver. Print driver is currently in development. We've had quite a bit of input from you all, so thank you for getting your thoughts over to us. But it's going to be ready for the PC environment in the next, I would say, 60 days or so. And what it's going to allow you to do is print directly from your tax software or from any other software. And what we're going to allow you to do is, let's say you want to print out a draft return for your client. And hit print, you'll select Listio as the target destination. It's going to invoke our user interface, and it'll attach the document automatically. And then you'll name the file. You'll specify whether or not you want to send it directly to the archive, or if you want to make it a private firm-only file. If you want to send it to a client, put in the client's information here, tag the file, add a message, and send. So this should save a lot of clicks, right? You won't have to push something to a portal or push it down to your desktop and then open your email and type another email, right? There won't be any gyrations. Let's just print straight from your tax software into Listio, compose your message as appropriate, select your settings, hit click once, hit send once, and you're done. So we think this will be the fastest solution out there, click-wise for anything in market, especially anything that has to use email as a communication layer. So that's coming. Switching gears yet again, I mentioned at the top that a lot of partners are getting a lot of the messages directly sent to them because their name's on the shingle, right? So what a lot of times has to happen is the partners have to go through and figure out, have to read all those things, figure out what they need to do themselves and what needs to get routed. And they have to spend a lot of time just routing messages. And a lot of things might sit in their email box because they're busy taking meetings and phone calls and all that kind of thing. So many of you last year used this. And I think for many of you, if you feel like the partner group is pinched and taking on too much, what we can do is we can do a couple things to help balance the load. One is, let's say you're managing and you want to create a task. You wake up in the middle of the night saying, hey, we need to get this, whatever it is, 1099 INT back from a client. That's going to allow us to move on. Create the task for the client. Okay, so you just go in there, create your task as usual. What you're going to do instead of just click and go, in fact, I can just show you really quick. This is really easy. I want to create a task. I want to request information from Axe Capital and so from Jane Client, need your form 1099 INT, okay? Instead of leaving myself as the owner, meaning when it comes back, I have to deal with it, I'm going to make, I'm going to pick on Lindsay here. I'll make Lindsay the owner. So when the client responds, it's going to go directly to Lindsay and not me. Please send ASAP so we can complete your return. This is a great way if you're working late, whatever it might be, you can't delegate this task at the moment to somebody else to create, just create it, reassign the owner, you're out of the way, and the business moves forward. Everybody's in the loop, okay? So that's easy. The next thing here is this notion that you can use our client service team to assign people to each account, right? So you're going to assign, let's say, Tim, Lindsay, and I all work together. But Lindsay now is getting way too much work. The work should either go to Tim or me or either one of us, right? Or one of us. You can put any combination on the client service team. And then we have a setting we can turn on for you that'll limit your clients to only, in this case, me and Tim. Lindsay will not appear as an option. Now, if Lindsay starts a conversation with the client, obviously they can continue to have that conversation in Listio, but the client cannot initiate a new conversation with Lindsay, right? The client can only initiate it with me and Tim in that case. This helps essentially balance the workload, helps to defray the work from the partners typically who are overrun with too many incoming emails, okay? Or too many incoming messages. So think about that. It's not for everybody, but we want to let you know it's an option for you. Okay, this one's basic. I think most of you used this last year and have been using this, but the file archival feature is great for keeping multiple people in the firm on the same page. So here's how it works. In Listio, we have two categories. We have active and we have archived, right? And this is two categories within the files section. If you ever click on files, we automatically default you, we automatically always show you active, because archived means it's already been dealt with, right? So let's say your client just gives you 50 new files. Well, if somebody goes through those 50 files and processes them, maybe takes some reviews and makes sure they're right and pushes them into the tax prep software, if those 50 files have been handled, the right thing to do at that point is to move them to archived, right? This signals that somebody already moved them. If anything new comes in, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. And I'll show you kind of quickly how that might look. So if I go to, in this case, I'm going to go to Jane again. Click on Jane here a little bit. So if I go to Jane and take a look at her files, what I'm going to see is everything that came in. Well, actually, let me show you two things. First thing is we automatically default everything to active. We're only showing you active files. Okay, and that's always by default. The second thing is we automatically sort everything by date added. So if it's tax season and you see a bunch of stuff added in, let's say it's February, everything in February that came in is almost certainly for this tax season. It's probably stuff you're going to want to look at. After you've looked at it and said, yep, I've been able to dispose of all those things, what you'll do is you'll select them. And I would select everything that's from November, okay? Anything from August probably isn't related to tax, let's say. I'm gonna go ahead and do two things. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna download them, and that'll help me. I can download them in bulk to push them to tax software. And the second thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna archive them. So all those November and December files are now gonna be sitting in the archive. If I wanna see them, I click on active here. I can show the archive files instead, and we'll see them. We'll now see them in the archive section. They're no longer in the active section. That all starts in August, okay? That's gonna keep everybody on the same page. So use archive once you've completed your work process step for that newly received file from the client. That'll keep everything super organized, okay? If you're concerned about, one more thing, if you're concerned about, hey, what if some of the files are from the firm and not from the client, you can always filter by what's been uploaded by the firm versus what's been uploaded by the client. So client uploads, right? This is everything the client sent us that's still sitting in active. Pretty nice way to go. All right. So just a kind of a quick little prep checklist. Contact us to update your engagement letters. Those are always free through us. We talked about this before, but make sure entity type information is accurate in case you're going to use that filter. Some of you might not be using it. That's okay. Prep your tax questionnaire. When I built the one today, I spent 20 minutes sitting there trying to futz with it to figure out what colors I liked and font sizes and all that. So build some time in there to make sure this thing is going to look good. Because we're using Adobe Sign, we need to pay Adobe Sign. So our pricing is as follows, and think of it this way. Like DocuSign charges $60 per month per person, right? I think it might be $70 if you don't pay for a year in advance. We're only going to charge you for what you use. So no additional subscription is required, right? And if you buy more, you save more. So these things are never going to expire. So if you want to buy from us, for example, 100 signatures, you buy 100 signatures, use them anytime you want. We'll put them in your account and we'll charge you $100. So for many of you, it's going to be far, far cheaper than a subscription. And the more you buy, the lower the price gets. It's $1.25, $1. I think it's 90 cents, 80 cents. So price will decline. And that's for the e-signature part. If you're doing KBAs, it's a different price for KBA. We also have bundled pricing for that. KBA pricing starts at $2 per ID. If you're planning on doing a lot of those, let us know. But we do encourage you to use the print, sign, and photo. I think that's going to be a great solution for many of you, and that's obviously free. We don't need to pay LexisNexis, and neither do you, if you want to use that. But now you have both. So we think we're very competitive, probably even a cost saver for just about everybody out there. And you have dual modes for all this stuff. Okay. I also wanted to point out that if you're going to be sending things, many of you are going to send, for example, an ACH form. If you want to do that stuff using our Adobe Sign integration, I would highly recommend you consider combining the ACH form with the tax questionnaire. The reason why I say that is you can attach multiple templates, okay? When you create that task in us, you can come out here, you can attach multiple templates. So I'll show you quickly how that works. If I were to come out here and to go to add new, eDoc, Jane. Okay, agreement title might be tax prep. I'm going to attach document 1, which is going to be my questionnaire. I'll attach template number 2, which might be bank draft authorization form. So we have multiple documents associated with a single task. If you do that, that only counts as one document, okay? So you'll save money by combining multiple into a single go. So think about that. You obviously don't want to overly burden your client at one time, but an ACH form, an attack questionnaire, that's pretty reasonable. Or maybe just use the same form if you want, put it all in one single form. So think about that. We talked about the client service team feature, and we have a new tax season starts now email that we can provide you with. So we're going to be sending it out to you, but if you want to reach out to us, what we want to do is we want to help you onboard your clients and get them ready, have them be ready to receive their engagement letter, receive their ACH authorization form, and all that kind of thing through Liscio. We want to help you get them to install the mobile app and so forth before you get in the busy season, before things start to really heat up. So if you want to take advantage of that, we will help you. We have some new information you can send to your clients who have not yet taken advantage of or have not yet activated their Liscio account. Okay? So that's a prep checklist. I think we're doing pretty well on time here. I want to leave plenty of time for us to go through questions. In development, a couple things that we're working on in pipe right now, alongside everything else, are a couple of quick items I want to update you on. One is many of you want to make sure that you're extremely clear on what clients have uploaded, that somebody, a notification might be sitting in one of your employees' inboxes, right? So we're going to make a change. Before, we used to require, or at present we still do, but we're about to change it. We require, when your client uploads a document, we require them to tag the file. We're going to relax that requirement. What will happen is every file uploaded to Liscio will automatically carry the client upload tag. That way you can always filter by client upload and see what they've recently uploaded. You also know that we have a bulk remove tag feature. So once if you want to go ahead and you want to take away the tag, you can use the bulk remove to get rid of it, okay? Or you can remove it one at a time, it doesn't matter. In addition, we're going to let your client, if they want to add a tag to it for whatever reason, let's say you have a client that's just a super genius, they have everything perfectly organized, everything right all the time, you can allow them to tag the file as well. It'll just carry the client upload tag so you know it's new, right? It'll carry that alongside whatever they tag it with. So it should be best of both worlds, okay? The second thing is, many of you have clients that will upload a ton of documents. So maybe you have that person who's just, uploading 50 things for taxes. Maybe another client, it's a client accounting services client, and they have 200 documents upload every week. What's happening is that tends to clutter the active file screen on their side. Presumably, if they're giving you a document, they'll be happy with it being in the archive. They can always find it. They can still see it. But if we archive it for them, what it's going to do is it's going to place an emphasis on the documents that you send them, which we're getting feedback from many of you that is appropriate. So what we want to do then is automatically archive on the client side only. Whatever they upload to you, it'll be archived on their side. It'll be active on your side, okay? That's that. And then you're about to see, a couple weeks time, we already have the designs in, this is already underway. You're going to get file search capability added. It's an easy add for us. You'll have that very soon, okay? So other shortcuts, client doesn't know how to log in, talk to us. Need the Liscio login widget for your website. So some of you don't have that, and I think we might have, maybe missed a couple of you out there, but we want to have this on your website. So if an end user, says, hey, how do I get to Liscio? It's right on your website. We have the code for you, super easy. You're probably tired of hearing me talk about this one, but multi-factor authentication. December is a great month to recheck with your firm, recheck with your teammates, make sure they all have the secondary authentication, the Google Authenticator on their phone. Make sure they have that ready to go and that it's turned on and enabled. We are thinking about making it an option for you pretty soon here to enforce it across, to really just require it for all team members. But we've been leaving that semi-optional to date. But please, 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 if you're not using MFA, please turn it on. It's a good idea for the firm. And if you have anybody, who's been kind of lagging on your side, or you have some new employees who aren't entirely up to date, again, great time of year to reach out to us. We're getting calls all the time from new people asking for help. We're happy to help you get up the chain. Okay. So here's our contact information, engagement letters, client service team, general questions. Let us know. If you want to get bundles, if you want to buy bundles of the eDocs beforehand, please let us know. And for many of you, we're also doing file transfer. So we're bringing a lot of clients' data over from File Cabinet, from ShareFile, from Smart Vault, etc. If you have an interest in doing that, let us know as well. That seems to be going really smoothly at this point. So a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to talk about. We're happy to take your calls, take your chats, etc. So I've been sitting here kind of watching the chat box blink the whole time. So I know there are a lot of you out there. We had a ton of registrants today. I know there are a lot of questions. So with the last 20 minutes, why don't we open it up for questions? I know Tim and Lindsay are probably answering as we go here, but Tim and Lindsay, do you want to pop in and share some key questions?
Yeah,
Hi,
my fingers are falling off from typing, so let's do it.
Great.
Thanks so much for all of the engagement, guys. This is really great. So we have quite a few questions that have come in. So let's just start going through them. One question comes from Debbie. She's asking, can the template, that you would load in an eDoc be a complete organizer containing letters and questionnaires?
Yeah, there's no reason why it can't. So a couple things on it. Really, that template upload, you can bring in anything. You can bring in, what I did is I took a PDF. I created a PDF out of Word. You could print anything, and you can print an Excel file if you want into a PDF. And whatever you bring in, you can add the fields too. So think of it that way. It's pretty universal. Also, one pro tip is if you already have a fillable PDF. So let's say, I know this, Thomson Reuters has a fillable organizer. It's a blank organizer, okay? But it's blank, but it's fillable PDF. If you import that, all of those fillable fields will automatically be fillable in the Lisio Adobe Sign integration, okay? So any fillable PDF you upload will retain the fillable fields when you bring it in. So just a quick pro tip there.
All right, another question we have comes from Thomas. He's asking if we will be posting multiple tax organizer templates.
We might be able to do that. I think we've been we've got a couple of forms we're putting in there for people. We're gonna have a forms library. I've been a little bit hesitant to take people's forms and either plagiarize them or make them available to other people. If any of you out there are willing to, if you will, open source your questionnaires for the benefit of the group, we'd be happy to make them available to others. But I'm not sure, I just don't want to step on anybody's toes and have somebody say, hey, that was my form, and now you have it in Lisio. So we're certainly open to it. And if you do have things that you want, we're happy to kind of point you in the direction where we're seeing free resources out there. But we will have some forms that we view as being standard and open and published for public use as being free game. But we've seen some pretty cool organizers that some of you have made or questionnaires, I should say, that we're a little bit hesitant to share without your explicit written consent. So anyway, bear that in mind, but more to come on that, okay?
Yeah, we had a question along those same lines from Stacy. She's asking, can we print the one in UltraText and use that?
Yes. There's actually, if you go to Thomson Reuters Help Center, I think if you just do a Google search, like type in UltraText blank organizer PDF, you're going to get a result that's going to show you exactly where to download their blank organizer that's already fillable. we can upload that for you, but all the fillable fields should come right in.
Yeah, and another question on that is, can we print a hard copy of the organizer and send to clients? That's a yes, correct?
Printing, that sounds like physical mail. But if you send an organizer right digitally to them through Lisio, they could print it out and return it. That'd be completely acceptable.
Mm-hmm. And in the same regard, we have another question from Thomas. Do you recommend sending organizers to both spouses or just one?
I think the answer is it depends. Typically, from what we can see, at least data-wise, there's typically one person in the household who is handling the majority of the tax work. You could, if you want to, you could send it to both, but most of the firms we talk to say that is not the case. Both spouses are not typically highly engaged. One is gathering and largely preparing the information. There's nothing to stop you from sending it to both, but that might be counterproductive relative to the client experience, right? Hey, I'm getting all these email, I'm getting, notifications or whatever from Lisio. I don't do that. So, anyway, I think there's obviously firm judgment to be applied there.
All right. Another question concerning 8879s and the KBA. This comes from Kevin. He's asking if we can pause the 8879 KBA, the Q&A, or does it kick it out and make you kind of restart making for another charge?
Can you pause it? So, okay, that gets, I'm not sure how that question is really structured, but here's how the NIST looks at it. The NIST is a federal regulatory body, and their determinations affect how the IRS essentially applies their regulations to tax preparers. But the NIST says if you're going to do an out-of-wallet authentication, you can't let somebody sit on a question for more than 2 minutes, okay? Because that means they can go out there and do a web search. That gives them enough time to dig for the right answer. So if somebody's doing this and they can't think of the answer within 120 seconds, the LexisNexis is going to say, nope, no good. You got to start over, right? I think we're programmed. I think we allow 2 attempts. You get 2 clean run attempts before it bails on the entire document. So if you go through it once and fail, I'm pretty sure it doesn't mean it's game over. First thing we do is we ask them additional questions. If they fail, I think they can click it again and start over one more time before LexisNexis says, no, hey, this is a completely different attempt. So that's my understanding of it. And that's the reason why you can't just pause it and let it sit there for a day while they figure it out, because that'd be too vulnerable to fraud.
Another question regarding engagement letters and 8879s. When they would require signatures from each spouse, they're asking if one spouse can sign for both if only one receives it.
So this goes back to federal and state signature regulations, okay? And one of the benefits we get by using Adobe Sign is there's a lot of compliance benefit here. So we're following things to the T. But here's what I know about federal and state guidelines with regard to the e-Sign Act. Each email address is considered as being registered to one individual, not to a household, not to a pair of spouses, etc. Right? So you can't have one email address count as being registered and getting really what I would say bona fide validation from multiple parties. It doesn't seem plausible at the surface, right? Because the email is going to one address and saying it's going to cover. How would anybody know? So what you want to do is you want to have one discrete email address per recipient. That's going to keep you in guideline. So start there. That's the most important part. The second thing is with regard to legality, and I'm not an attorney, so you might want to flesh this out a little bit more with, if you're that concerned about it. Most firms are happy getting a signature from, let's say, the head of household or the primary person in order to create a contractual liability that, the engagement is in fact valid, right? Most firms are not requiring that of both spouses because that is a little bit overdoing it. As to whether or not that would hold up in court, that's not for me necessarily to determine. That might be more for the states and so forth. So you might want to get advice on that. But what we see in terms of real world practice, the super majority, pretty much everybody is happy with one person signing an engagement letter. That's up for debate. We can always crowdsource some information there, but that's what we're seeing.
All right, we've got a question on the print driver. Kent is saying that he is using Virtual Office to host UltraTax. He's asking if he's going to be able to use the print driver to Lisio in that environment.
So here's the key. Our print driver is going to work just like a regular hardware print driver. And Virtual Office is running essentially on Windows, right? So if in that environment, you're able to install a print driver to, let's say, your HP desktop printer, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to install one for Lisio either. So that's something we want to test with you. We've talked to our developers about it. They don't see any issues with it, but it's something we're gonna push out there. We're gonna test with you to make sure. But unless there's something specific about VO, we just don't see any hurdles or roadblocks there. If there are any, we're gonna have very high focus on overcoming them very quickly. We know a lot of you out there using VO.
All right, we've got a question regarding the pricing for e-signatures. They're asking if they need to pre-purchase bundles for signatures in order to use them, or if they need to send them, they can just get a few, send a few just to get started. They're asking, how that billing will work. Will it be separately, monthly?
It's paid for what you use, really. So here's how to think about it. We'll give you a couple just to get started to test out, right? Let me be careful on that. So it's pay per use, but we recommend you buy a bundle. But if you wanted to send one or two as a test, we won't have a problem with that, okay? And we'll apply it to your bundle. But if you just send one or two, we will charge you per. It'll be $1.50 per, okay? But if you have like, hey, if you want to call us up and say, oh, I want to send, just 2 or 3 to make sure I get the hang of it, our support team can work with you on that to make sure that whatever you do will apply to your bundle. But if you buy a bundle, you think you're going to send, 500 in the course of a year, I would recommend buying 500 to get a better price. And these things will not expire. We'll have them there, again, with no subscription. So.
All right, we've got another question on the print driver. They're asking, can they print from Onvio to Lisio and vice versa?
Printing from Onvio to Lisio would not be a problem. So you'd be in the browser. Onvio runs in a browser. You go to File, Print, and then instead of selecting a physical printer in the office, you're going to select Print to Lisio. So that'll be easy. Printing to Onvio, I don't think they have something that allows to print into them. So unless they would have to have their own print driver. Not sure if they have that.
All right, another question. This is regarding tax returns. So are we recommending printing the tax returns directly to Lisio, or is it only going to be signature forms?
I think most firms will print the tax returns directly to Lisio. So you'll have your print, you have your tax return. Let's say it's your draft. You'll print your draft out. You'll hit, print client copy. You'll select Lisio as the target. You'll be able to tag the file as whatever it is, draft 2019 tax return. Type in something, dear Jane and John Doe, here's your draft tax return for 2019. Please review, right? And hit send. It's going to be super easy. I think that's going to be the way to go. Draft in.
We've got another question. Can you use the signature sequencing without KBA?
Yes, you can.
Yep, KBA is just going to be used on 8879s, correct?
any form that requires what they call out-of-wallet ID or out-of-wallet identification and verification. So there are more cases to use, but we think to use it for, but I would, you know, I think there's, just because of how Lisio works, if you think about it, right? You know who they are, you've invited them, you've been interacting with them, it's secure login, all that kind of thing. You have very high confidence. It's not like email, right? You have much higher confidence that people are logging in, they are who you think they are. So I think you're going to use it for certain government forms that require it, but that's about it.
All right. And I think we had maybe covered this, but we had another question about engagement letters. Do you have to have both of them sign the engagement letter, or can it just be the taxpayer?
I'm not an attorney, so I wouldn't want to opine on that. But I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, and, we don't need to repeat questions we already had asked. But if we're not seeing firms send out engagement letters to both spouses very often, it's very rare.
Yeah, we've got another question regarding these. They're asking if we can discuss the signature bundles again, and wondering if the bundles are for both types with and without KBA.
So KBA will be separate. So think of it this way. You can buy a bundle of regular signatures, right? Without KBA verification. And just when you figure out how many more or less KBAs you want, just let us know. We can provision you for that. But they're going to operate essentially independently. You don't need to buy them together. You can buy the bundles entirely separately. And again, you're only going to pay for what you use. Anything left over will be carried forward. So just talk to us about it. We'll let you know based on your anticipated volume what we'd recommend do. We'll quote you out based on what you think you'll need. Okay.
All right, we're almost out of time, guys.
2 more questions.
All right, 2 more questions. One's about, let me see. Let's see. Okay, this is good. This question is about the print driver. Is the print to Lisio going to notify the client directly, or will it be in Lisio to then notify the client that the document's there?
It'll notify the client directly if you use, okay, I'll go back to that too. So let's say this is the UI that it calls up. When you print to Lisio, if it invokes this, or when it invokes this UI, you'll be able to name the file, say what account, what person it's related to, tag it, and you have a choice. If you don't want the client to know about it, then click on Do Not Send Message, and you can even make it private, okay? That'll keep it entirely out of the client's everything. If you don't want to send them the message, but you want them to have access to it, then don't check the Make Private button. That'll put it in their folder quietly. And that's great if you have a new client you're setting up. Hey, I just want to populate their files section, but they don't need to know I'm doing it because I'm doing it, I just want to have it there in case they need it. Or you can send them a message, right? And obviously that'll send them the message immediately. So we give you all 3 options: entirely private to the firm, just for your records, populate their records as well as yours, but do it silently, or let them know and send them a message. So all 3 will be available through the print driver.
All right, great. Another question, I think it's going to be regarding the print driver. And this comes from Sarah. She's asking, in UltraTax, when we print the 2 files are produced, the client copy and action items file. She's asking if they'll be able to print the 2 files at the same time to Lisio.
So when you print them out, think about it this way. If you send it to your printer, if you were to print it, and it depends on the printer, depends on the software that is the source, right? If it allows you to print both simultaneously, it's going to send one package to the printer. If it's sending one package to the printer, it's going to be sending one package to us, so it would work exactly the same. If it sends it in 2 batches, meaning print job 1 and print job 2, then they would come across to Liscio as two different jobs. Okay, so think of it that way. Okay, we're out of time. I know there's, wow, I'm looking at how many questions we got today, an absolute ton. So I know there's more out there. We'll do what we always do, which we'll take a look at anything we didn't have a chance to get to today, and we will write you back today with our responses. And then if you have more questions, please feel free to engage us anytime. I know it's a busy time of year coming here. We want to make sure you have everything you need going into tax season, and hope we can help. So thank you all for attending. Until the next time, thank you.